All right, we're live. This is Tales from the Flipside Monday night. Big news in the movie and TV realm. We didn't even talk about the slides beforehand, but that's okay. We're going to roll through it. Market report. Maybe people have pickups. I bought something, but I won't see it for a few days. Probably next show I'll talk about it.
It's a CGC starting with a 4.
Yes. 4.5. No. We'll see. We'll see. And then we'll talk about some other things. So let's go. We'll get it started, and here we go. You got to give me a little credit. It's a 5.5,
but it's modern. Like last week.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Okay. So I kind of put these in order. Let's do this one because it's not comic related. We'll figure this one first. I'm excited for the best movie to ever come out for a second movie. Roadhouse. Movie 2 will happen. So we all saw Roadhouse, I think, right?
Yeah. I think there's some chatter that Sam Elliott may make an appearance.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I could get down with that.
Me and Chris were talking in the chat and in the Google chat about the premise, and I do like yours. It was either like the dad comes out of jail, obviously, or it's Conor McGregor.
Or honestly, I could see it being an amalgam of the other idea I had. It is both him trying to get back to being a fighter and then dealing with the consequences of homeboy from the first one's dad getting out of jail. And so you have this weird, it's almost like a reverse of what was that? Rocky 4, Rocky 5? The
Billy
one.
Gunn?
Yeah.
Billy Tommy Gunn or whatever.
Yeah. So it's like instead of it being like the disgraced boxer is, fighting on the street, we've already done that in the previous movie. Now you have him like his climb back to notoriety, but dealing with the demons of what happened in the previous movie potentially.
Well, and maybe the thing would be right. His dad sets up his Conor McGregor's dad or whatever, or whoever's dad sets up the fights, and and then he screws him over or something, right? Jake Gyllenhaal, and then Gyllenhaal fucking goes after him.
I don't know, man. I think it's Roadhouse. It's got to not be on the set. He's got to just be drifting town to town like fucking Kung Fu.
Jack Reacher
wrongs at various bars.
Yeah. Jack
like
Reacher on MMA.
It's like a reality show on the Food Network.
That'd be hilarious. Just pop in the door. Hey, what's going on?
Roadhouse brawl removal.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited about it. I mean, we need more movies like this. Like, the straight to the old straight to tape films, but like good quality straight to tape. Like,
give them a little box office. I'll pay a few bucks, and if not, send them to streaming.
Yeah.
You get views. I am constantly searching streaming for just some kind of mindless action movie that doesn't look like hot garbage.
Yeah.
I watched the last hot garbage one. It was our boy Frank Grillo and Netflix, I think. He was like some. Was it him? Maybe it wasn't Frank. It was Frank Grillo and one, and then Michael J. White and another one. He was like playing some like.
I think I know what you're talking about. Like,
at the airport or whatever the fuck it was. I'm like, I didn't know the hell. I just
Frank Grillo had a good one on Prime. It was like boss level. That was enjoyable.
Yeah,
it's silly but enjoyable.
You
just want something to entertain you enough.
Yeah. Did the Grillo news make it into this week? I know we posted for like last week, and I'm not sure.
No, I can grab it real quick.
I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but for so Grillo is so he's a voice on Creature Commandos.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
And the character that he's playing in Creature Commando is making a live action appearance in season 2 of Peacemaker. So again, this is keeping with James Gunn with his whole logic of their live action and animated worlds, and potentially the games are going to be interwoven in a way that makes for one big, huge continuity. That was that. So, I mean, I like Grillo. Grillo's is a good dude. It's good to see him acting and getting work in. So
Yeah, he's a he'll give you what you're expecting.
Let's see. That. Okay. Let's talk about this one. It's not going to be.
That thing should have been dead long ago.
Yeah, Marvel Silk Spider Society dead at Amazon. So
I feel like they're just playing shell games with Spider-Man characters at this point.
I agree.
They're like, well, we're not going to do Silk now. Instead, we're going to do Spider-Man Noir, and it'll be live action, and Nicolas Cage will be playing Spider-Man Noir. It's like, okay, like I don't know who asked for that, but you probably, honestly, I think it boils down to, I hate to say it, but not really hate to say it. It's like I think Nicolas Cage has more traction now because of coming off of the overbearing weight of talent. I think he's back in the limelight again as being a mainstream marketable actor. That he did very well, surprisingly.
Like Brendan Fraser, kind of.
Yeah, so I think he's having a little bit of a renaissance. And it started with like him doing all those like those Amazon films around the H.P. Lovecraft stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think, getting the overwhelming, like, painting a caricature of himself. I think now he's back in the public, conversation again. Studio heads have been in talks of it. So, yeah, I think it's more important in a way than this is. I don't think there was anybody attached to this in a major way that anybody cared about.
Well, nobody knows Silk other than us.
I mean, nobody really knows Spider-Man Noir either, but I think Nicolas Cage.
But at least he has exposure from the film.
Yeah, I think
from the animated movie.
Cage carries more cachet than I think the character does at this point.
No, I agree, but you have a character that has something in the zeitgeist at this point of outside of us, and you got Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Versus Silk, who probably nobody even knows exists outside of real hardcore. And
are we surprised that Madam Web is the top movie on Netflix?
People don't know yet. I still refuse to watch it.
I haven't watched it yet either. I need to just to get into my brain, just so I can leave it.
I think it's honestly like a Morbin time scenario. Like it's a two-parter. It's a Morbin time scenario and Sydney Sweeney.
I get it. Yeah.
Like Sydney, like the prospect of seeing her in black latex is causing people to go watch that. And I mean, she's apparently in talks right now to potentially play Black Cat. So,
okay.
Let's see what else we got. This is Sasha Leone latest to join the Fantastic Four ensemble.
Was that before or after the other guy?
This was right after they announced the Galactus casting.
What about what's his name? The Oscar or the Emmy winner? Got talk from Cobra Kai, Stingray.
That one I missed. I need you to elaborate more on it.
What's his name?
Not Joseph Quinn, right?
Paul. He did the rap at the Emmys or whatever.
Paul Walter Heiser.
Yes, he's got a role too.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, he's in it.
Oh, they're wondering that he could either be Herbie or Mole Man.
Yeah. Didn't that come out about the same time as her?
I completely missed his.
This was May 2nd. This was a long time ago.
Yeah, I was like, I saw this one. I keep seeing this one pop up.
He looks so weird without a beard from like Cobra Kai or whatever he had.
I mean, he's on a roll. His stuff is good.
Yeah, so that was May 2nd. So I completely just missed that one. The Natasha Lyonne one was the one that caught my attention because
I don't mind her.
I mean, I think she's probably going to be Alicia.
Yeah, that's where I was leaning to.
That's what everybody was saying in the comments.
She's got too distinct a voice to be a villain or something,
Yeah, and
I could see her being Alicia.
And she's played a blind character before in Marvel. Nobody wants to remember that movie, but she was She was the blind weapons maker in Blade Trinity.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, you're right. Oh God.
But yeah, I mean, she's got that quintessential New York like accent and voice. I could absolutely see her being Alicia.
Yeah. Agreed.
How about let's go here.
I don't see Frankie Ray Nova.
Hawkeye has been renewed for a second season. Clint Brothers Barney will play a major role. Season was inspired by the raid with Kate and Clint stuck in one location.
I didn't even know he had a brother.
Yeah, I remember that character popping up. Like, wasn't that like right after like post? Shit, when was Barney like a thing? I want to say it was like post Marvel Knights. I want to say it's when that character got introduced.
What? Like, why do they need him unless they really don't have faith in her?
Or the fact that maybe Jeremy Renner still physically isn't 100% to do what he needs to do yet.
This was
I guess I can just assume they can stunt double all that shit.
You can't stunt double walking.
He can't walk.
I mean, don't know. Like I haven't seen him in anything. Like the one interview that he did post getting messed up, he was, I don't want to say sitting.
Okay.
So I mean,
I think he's walking. I think he's walking now. But I'm not saying like full sprint running.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing to be like able to walk. It's another thing to be able to walk and act and unassisted and all that good stuff. And maybe you need somebody else to come step in and be.
Did they do the Morgan Freeman thing where he just wears a glove all the time, or
I don't know. Honestly, I haven't seen him since that one interview that he did after everything happened.
Yeah.
He's an easy plot to try to. Here's an easy plot to try to take his brother's mantle and she keeps it. I guess. Yeah, Avengers 64 and Hawkeye Blind Spot number 3.
Yeah, so I mean, because he was the Dark Avenger stepping. I mean, who knows? Maybe we finally are getting a lead into Dark Avengers. Maybe that's how we, play off of the Young Avengers. Because I mean, at this point, like Young Avengers is a definite thing at this point. So maybe the Dark Avengers becomes sort of how they tie in with the Young Avengers and segue off of her season 2.
So it's interesting there. This ought to be. Let's go with this one. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, the second pick from James Gunn and Peter Safran's DC Studios, gets summer 2026 release.
It's such an odd character to be your kind of like second character.
Do you think it's the TV? Do you think because of the TV show was, I guess, well received? I guess maybe. I mean, it's not the same character, but or the same actress. But
honestly, I don't think so. I think James Gunn has a very specific story he wants to tell, and I think it being anchored around like Kryptonians and what they mean for Earth and for Hope. And again, if her story is very much so tied to the Woman of Tomorrow storyline, that's a very hopeless character finding hope again. So maybe that's the kind of
Tomorrow's tied to her going to the future.
It's the one where she is off-world.
Okay.
It's the one where she's like, I don't remember what got her to this point, but she is like drinking off-world and gets basically pulled into some stuff by an alien race who is being, oppressed. And yeah, it's very like the world. It's very much so Planet Hulk. It's very similar in nature to Planet Hulk in that whole element of
Valkyrie. Yeah,
like I don't want to get involved, and I'm now having to get involved, and I've lost faith, and I'm fighting to through my actions and through working with this young girl who is oppressed, an oppressed group of the species whose father was killed and all that stuff. She learns to find her faith in that whole motivation to be a hero again type situation. But yeah, I mean, it's a good read. It's a damn good read.
I might have to.
Which is funny because it's Tom King, which is
crazy. Yeah.
Which is crazy because, like, I mean, a lot of people I know are not fans of Tom King because he's always trying to work out his trauma from being in the military and also being a a government operative having him working through it using superheroes, and everybody's like, "How about you just deal with your trauma on your own? Stop using our favorite characters as a mechanism for dealing with your personal turmoils and trauma." But this is one of the few times where it really worked. I mean, I think Grayson worked to a certain degree, but this one really worked.
I mean, bringing trauma in is what,
Yeah, but
what makes shit interesting sometimes.
A couple times he just kind of like character assassinated a couple characters through him trying to like work through his shit. Like what he did to Barry, like like that was just a straight character assassination of Barry for no good reason.
Is there anybody that's not hit and miss, guys?
No. I mean, some of the greats have just not stuck the landing sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there's very few that are like even remotely consistent to say.
Yeah, I mean, Bendis typically, connects more than he misses, but when he does miss, he misses big sometimes. I mean, he's had some big volleys of messing with characters because Bendis is the one who basically aged up John because he basically ruined, like, ended Super Sons, right?
Yeah,
because he couldn't write kids. Like, he didn't know how to write kids, so he's like, "Oh, you need to become a teenager now. I can write teenagers."
Freaking ruined that.
Yeah, he's like, "I can't write kids, so you're now a teenager." So that was a big volley on the part of Bendis. He's had some other ones throughout his Marvel days too.
What's the new Spider Ultimate guy?
Hickman.
Yeah, he's fairly consistent.
Yeah, because I can't blame him for what the end of the Croatia era turned into because he was already gone at that point.
He starts a good story, but I mean his are so long.
Yeah. So, I mean, everybody has their misses. I mean, what Al Ewing's doing right now with Venom, I'm just like, what? So, you win some, you lose some. But I'm excited about this though because I mean, a Superman, like a bigger universe like this with Kryptonians at the center of it, done well, potentially done very well. I'm excited about because I mean, we haven't had Superman done well really since. I mean, the television show, but I didn't really watch that. But I heard good things, and I mean, going back to Christopher Reeves because Brandon Routh's portrayal was just him aping on Christopher Reeves at that point, like him trying to bring back that Donner feel and vibe, and kind of missing the mark on it. So yeah, it'd be nice to have a good portrayal of Superman again. I mean, say what you will about the individual portrayal of Superman in Man of Steel, but the greater film was not a good Superman movie.
No, it didn't give you anything.
Yeah, I don't want to learn about like honestly a too old Superman trying to find himself through the course of that movie. I'm like, no, let's have me a little bit younger and have that play a little bit different. I think Gunn's got a better idea of how to pull that off this time around.
There's nothing wrong with Cavill. He just was working with a mess.
Yes.
Too dark, no tone. No, it was just not even a great story.
Yeah, Figure Drawing said it best. Cavill was very good. He was just cursed with Zack Snyder. No, you're not wrong. Zack Snyder is great at building a great universe. He is really bad at telling an individual story.
All right, what you got next, Dino?
Okay. This is from Paul. Deadpool Wolverine breaks runtime record. So
what's that mean?
127 minutes. I guess it's not been confirmed, but they're saying maybe.
Well, you can buy. So tickets went on sale this morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time. So we can go into AMC app and see exactly what the
runtime for Deadpool.
The new Deadpool.
Yeah, but it's a runtime versus the other Deadpools.
I don't know.
It's not that long.
Yeah, 2 hours and 7 minutes. I mean, in game was damn near 3 hours.
Yeah,
maybe
a lot of movies now are long as hell. It's not short. Maybe it's the longest Deadpool or the shortest Deadpool.
Yeah, this might be the longest Deadpool movie, but this is not the longest MCU movie by any
chance.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could sit through 3 hours of Deadpool.
Longest of any Deadpool movie.
Okay. Which So I was trying to find a way to segue on this a little bit because when I immediately saw I caught wind of it from one of the other like scoopers that we were going to get ticket sales opening up today. And so when they finally became available, I was like, oh shit, that is the Friday of San Diego Comic Con. Like that is smack dab in the middle of San Diego Comic Con.
Oh boy.
And I'm just like, I wonder, I mean, that's a very small pool of ticket sales, but it calls me to wonder what is Marvel going to do with having that? Because I don't think we've ever had a major release coincide with Comic Con weekend. And it's one thing to have like one of your other type of cons fall on the same weekend as one of your studio releases. This is the big boy. And I think this in like Brazil, I wonder what they're going to do because of it. So I'm actually kind of excited to be there and to see like, maybe they do. I mean,
like not Kang, but you know how they had who did they have come out?
they had. Well, I mean, they've had Loki come out. They had what's his face come out. The High Evolutionary.
Yeah, maybe they do that. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I could see them. There's a theater in town that some of the other studios have grabbed up in the past to do off-site private events for, like who was it? Not A24, but the ones who did the Purge and what's that studio that Blumhouse. Blumhouse rented out. I think Blumhouse and New Line Cinema rented out one of the theaters and showed all their upcoming like horror trailers for the next year of films. I could see potentially them having both, or either Ryan Reynolds or Hugh Jackman there, and being like, we're doing a very small, intimate showing of the movie at the theater that's in San Diego.
Do they do like a scavenger hunt maybe through SDCC, and if you get it all, you get tickets to that?
I can possibly see that, or they just do it through the raffle system itself.
Or something like that. Yeah,
it's just one of the raffle system like options of like exclusives that you can get your hands on. That if you get chosen, because typically they do one of two things: they either do a raffle system through the exclusive portal, or they basically have you wait in line, and the first XYZ number of people who get tickets are the ones who get in. So it'll be cool to see if that's how they approach it. But I can definitely see them doing a special limited event during San Diego Comic Con.
Interesting. Okay. I like that. You gave me a lot for that one. I don't know if we want really. We'll talk about it. So Paul kind of touched on this, the whole morph, and we talked about X-Men '97. I think it's been it's been a week right since the season.
Yeah, it's been a week since the finale.
So obviously, there was undertones of Morph's affection toward Wolverine, yada yada yada. So they kind of pronounced that in the old in this scene right here with him turning into Jean Grey, obviously.
Yeah, saying if she can't say it, I will.
Yeah.
I love you. Yeah. And I mean, it had been hinted at the whole entire season that Morph secretly had feelings for Wolverine that he could not express. And I don't know. I think and I know there's people out there who are gonna get all pissy and shit about like this being in the content or whatever. First off, this shit ain't for kids. Yeah. Like let's get that out the way with the quickness. This is animated. This ain't for kids by any stretch of the imagination. Also, the fact is like nobody gave a shit about Morph. Like Morph is Changeling, who then got rewritten as a new-ish character because they couldn't use the name Changeling because DC had the rights to it. And then DC didn't even use Changeling. They called him fucking Beast Boy. And so then they came back being like, well, I guess we could have called him Changeling. But in the comics, they then revamped it to make Changeling and Morph the same character in continuity. But nobody gave a shit. Like, nobody's favorite X-Men is Morph.
Morph died in the first episode. Like, no one cares.
Yeah, so I mean, this is one of those perfect examples of if people talk about, well, why do they need to they took a character that had connection to this team because he was the catalyst for most of the actions of Wolverine during those first 1 or 2 seasons. But he wasn't but nobody had a meaningful connection to him, so they could use him in whatever manner they wanted to. And them choosing to do this with him now, I'm completely okay with. It's cool. If Wolverine never reciprocates, if he does, who gives a shit, honestly. Like he's been in a throuple in the comics with Jean, Cyclops, and I think Emma occasionally floats in there as well, depending on how the wind blows. Like, so I mean, like this ain't sacred. This ain't a medium for kids. Like what they are doing with these characters in the comics is all over the place. I mean, Jean and Cyclops are comfortably married, and every opportunity Cyclops got in the comics, he was staring at Psylocke's ass. Like it is what it is, and I don't know. It's.
I love this stuff. Look at all these people.
Well, I mean, didn't Gen V do something generally like this with that character? The female male. I mean,
yeah, this ain't nothing new, but I can see people getting all pissy and stuff because, oh my God, clutch my pearls. They're messing with my X-Men, and people having a very specific revisionist history of the X-Men. Yeah. Like people who clutched it a lot. Honestly, I hate to say it. I mean, not even hate to say it. I don't need to get that out of my vocabulary. There's a very common issue with people remembering characters, and honestly, like it's people who weren't comic book readers. It's people who were kind of loosely comic book readers who got most of their shit from this TV show, being like, well, this isn't the X-Men. It's like, well, what you're remembering is a television show representation of the X-Men. The X-Men span 80 years of comics, where, for Christ's sakes, in the first like 2 issues, Professor Xavier is implying that he would want to sleep with a very much so underage Jean Grey.
Well, it's a Mandela effect, right? So it's like, right? It's a lot of people remembering a false rumor, right? Kind of like, oh, I thought that's how it went, but then you go back and you kind of know.
Yeah, if you're gonna mess with characters, the X-Men are the characters to mess with. Like, don't mess with the Avengers. Mess with the X-Men. They are always kind of like a hodgepodge of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's melodrama. It is a soap opera. Like, I got into it with a friend of mine over this, but I was like, no, dude, like this. If you've ever watched a soap opera, like I grew up the child of
General Hospital, all that stuff.
Exactly. My mother religiously watched General Hospital. Yeah. I could tell you about when Susan Lucci finally won her Daytime Emmy Award. Like I was there with her. Like I wasn't a fan, but I paid enough attention to what she was watching to know what was going on. Yeah. You could legitimately like take out Susan Lucci and those characters from General Hospital, in place Wolverine, in place Jean, put in a little bit of Mystique, throw in a little bit of Emma Frost for good measure, and you've got a soap opera, for Christ's sakes. Yeah. I mean, Stan Lee's origins were from writing romance comics. Those were just soap operas in comic book form. So yeah, this is a melodrama, and you need some of this over-the-top shit to tell a melodramatic story. And I mean, if you've got your personal beliefs on what should and shouldn't happen between 2 characters, hey, go watch something else. Yeah. Like, but this is cool. It's great television, and I mean, to think that this has the possibility of winning the daytime or winning the Emmy Award, and so this segues into that. For this to potentially win an Emmy for best animation, and honestly, with the exception of Blue Eye Samurai, it ain't
far off.
It ain't a hard list to beat. I mean, don't get me wrong, Bob Burgers has his moments. Simpsons are just past their prime at this point. I don't know what happened in the season of Archer, honestly. So maybe Archer did something really cool, maybe it didn't. But from a dramatic storytelling perspective, it's Blue Eye Samurai and it's X-Men 97.
Yeah, I mean, and Blue Eye Samurai was really good. But I think the visualization of Blue Eye Samurai versus X-Men 97, I think X-Men 97 wins it, because I watched the last couple episodes and like the color visuals were just insane, like the different palette colors, and like it was intense.
Well, I mean, the only other thing I'd say is the X-Men 97 is on Disney Plus, which probably honks people off who aren't paying attention to that. It's not a kid show.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean,
but that's on you as a parent.
That's parenting. Yeah,
exactly. Like I don't have kids.
Deadpool's been on there. Then you need to set your things, and I'm sure it's listed as MA.
Yeah. I mean, I think it boils down to like people have gotten real comfortable with letting like these media raise their children or parent their children to a certain degree, and them feeling like I don't have to put the work in and know what's in this before I let my kids watch it. Or
it's outrage after the fact, right? Like, oh, I didn't do my due diligence, and now I'm outraged about it.
Exactly. I mean, let's go back to the ruining of Black Label. Is that Black Label was established from the time it got mentioned at that San Diego Comic-Con. This is a kind of a harkening back to Vertigo, to, adult storytelling with these characters, but it exists outside of canon so that we don't, run the risk of messing with canon, or we don't do something to a character in a way that hurts the ongoing storylines. But it's a darker, adult toned involving your mainstream characters, because Vertigo could never do the mainstream character thing. They always had to use random offshoot characters.
And it's TV-14, but still TV-14's like young adult stuff from like Nickelodeon. Remember, like all that stuff, like Degrassi and all that shit.
Yeah, I mean, you start getting the TVMA. That's like the Spawn. That was like the HBO Spawn. That's like South Park. Like you're dropping, profanity. There's true, full on potential sexual content in there. The most that you get in this is a little bit of gyration here and there from like people dancing, a kiss here and there type stuff. So you can still walk that line of TV-14.
Well, I'm laughing because AOA said something about go broke, but like X-Men have always been like on the odd end of the spectrum. They've always kind of delved into like the weird shit.
They've been woke since day one. They're a fucking allegory for MLK and for MLK and Malcolm X, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah,
they've been woke since day one.
That's my thing. Is like they're not different than they were.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. People have a revisionist history of wanting to remember these things based off of some comic book reading and a lot more of watching the original cartoon. Yeah. And they've created a recontexting of what was actually happening. Because God Love Man Kills, again, what was that, 1986? Because that was Marvel graphic novel, what, 1 or 2 or 3? Mm-hmm. So yeah, that would have predated New Mutants. So let's see, I can tell you off the top of my head, so I don't have it right here. But yeah, so it predates the New Mutants one. So I mean, we're still talking mid to late 80s. In God Love Man Kills, Kitty equates being called a mutant to being called the N-word. Mm-hmm. And doesn't say N-word. She says fucking. Yeah. And again, this thing has been woke since its inception, and they have touched on that element of treating like, like the X-Men representing whatever marginalized group is the marginalized group of the times. The mutant virus and stuff that people are freaking out contracting is an allegory for AIDS, for Christ's sakes. Like it's always been there, but everybody wants to pretend like, the X-Men is what they remember when they were 5 to 10 years old.
Well, I think they remember just like the first season, kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, their first couple episodes. Just hell, I haven't watched it in 20 years, and like I started watching it again, like the very first season of it, and I'm like,
it's hard to watch.
It is hard to watch, but I'm like, wow, this is kind of terrible. But 12-year or 10-year or whatever I was,
Well, it's because the animation and everything else, the storytelling, everything else has moved ahead. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is, but. At the time, it was fire. It was our show.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm saying it was good back then, but it wasn't like what happened in that show was not like. I mean, it was a very kidifying. I mean, it was on Fox Kids. Yeah, it was a kidification of the content.
But it was also 90s kids, which means it had a little bit of edge versus now. Like now you can have no edge.
Yeah, you can have no edge now, and so the fact that it is live action, it is for people like myself who are in their late 30s. It's for people who are in their late 20s, early 30s. Like, this is a content for adults to tell adult stories that they could never tell in 2 kids or 4 kids. I mean, again, life death is about depression. It's about a struggle. It's like somebody struggling with their sense of identity and who they were, and losing that and having to figure out who they are outside of that. And yeah, it wasn't wrapped up in 2.5 comics. Storm didn't have powers for like the greater part of 2-3 years before she got her powers back, and had to and was the leader of the X-Men, or was the leader of an X-Men team. No, the leader of the X-Men. It wasn't an X-Men team. There wasn't Blue and Gold at that point, because that didn't happen until the 90s. She was the leader of the X-Men, kicked Cyclops' ass with no powers after struggling with the whole identity of being basically a level medical mutant who had lost her powers and didn't know who she was anymore. Having been worshipped as a god and suddenly being like, I'm a regular fucking person now. Yeah. How do I deal with that? And Forge working with her to get through that, and the love story that blossomed out of that. I'm like, again, this ain't kid content. Like, this is the reality of being a person, written by people who wanted to write serious stories, but wanted to write them in the context of these characters.
But and saying all that, like, obviously it's been great, but I saw this, right? So we'll bring this
Well, we
up.
should also celebrate. This is the first time Marvel has done animated really well. Like, What If's okay.
Yeah.
Far from great. It's fine. This is the first animated Marvel has done in a long time that isn't like Saturday morning cartoon bullshit.
No, absolutely. I mean, this is amazing content, and it's funny because like you go back in the day, it used to be DC couldn't get out of their own way with the movies, but their animated stuff was untouchable. And now it's kind of flipped. It is like, well, their movies are starting to maybe find their way, but their animated is starting to get real bad. So,
well, they're killing it, so they have to start over, which is fine.
Yeah.
So they're talking about Bo DeMayo's involvement. Obviously, he got let go or fired or whatever you want to call it from season 1. I guess he wrote a lot of season 2, but will not heavily be involved in the production as of right now. I mean,
so the more digging I do on Bo DeMayo, it sounds like he's just a real, just kind of like piece of shit to work with.
Yeah,
like he's one of those like classic, like just
he's always right kind of guy, or it's his way or no way.
Yeah, like I mean, or to the point of like the old school, like flipping tables, calling people out their names, like real just kind of piece of shit, like to be involved with. And apparently, because I started digging, and there were other productions that he was on. So if you go look at his IMDb, he was executive producer on another show where after like a season or 2, he left the show, even though he was like executive producer and like I think showrunner or head writer on that as well. Like he is definitely a product, I think, of a bygone era of Hollywood, of you where you could be a piece of shit, and if you delivered a award-winning positive piece of content, people look the other way on it. I don't think we exist in a world like that anymore in Hollywood. Like you can't just be like just a terrible person and toxic as hell and get away with it. But yeah, it was so Witcher, and there was something else that he was associated with. I want to say it was Witcher and maybe the originals, or either it was Moon Knight. But like both of those, I think he quietly slid away from behind the scenes.
I mean, and let's be okay. So I typed in most difficult people to work with in the movie. So Werner Herzog, David Fincher, Michael Bay. I mean, obviously Francis Ford Coppola, Stanley Kubrick, James Cameron, Alfred Hitchcock. I mean, some of these people, like this guy, it's made billions of dollars. You know, it's like they demand. You know,
yeah.
Well, but difficult to work with can mean multiple things.
Well, okay, so
of shit is always it.
I mean, Stanley Kubrick basically caused Shelley Duvall to have a goddamn nervous breakdown on the set of The Shining. Yeah. And then James Cameron, that's actually funny because I was just recently listening to kind of a retrospective talking about Aliens, and James Cameron could not adjust to at the time the cultural. So he had just come off of making Terminator, but Terminator was made in the States and was with an American. So he was the director and writer of an American production. He goes over to Pinewood over in Great Britain, does Aliens, and was legitimately flipping the shit because like he didn't understand that like the British didn't operate like the Americans do. Like they have breaks that they're going to take. They're not going to work these slavish hours and things like that. Like, and there was times where he would be in the middle of a very important shot. He'd turn around and be like, where the fuck did everybody go? And everybody's at the tea cart because it was tea time. And one time he just got so fed up with it that he flipped the fucking tea cart. Like the little old lady who was responsible for, preparing people's tea in the middle of the day, he flipped the cart because, and he wrote in his last speech to the production crew at Pinewood he was like, we all know this was a very hard and arduous shoot and that we had our issues. He was like, but the one thing that gives me solace to know is that I get to leave and the rest of you insufferable bastards will still be here. That is what James Cameron said as his swan song to the production crews at Pinewood. And
that's some OG Ric Flair shit right there.
But then had to come back 3 years later. 3 years later, he came back and had to do another movie there. It was like that's some real Rocky fucking from Attitude Era heel shit right Yeah, but I mean that's what I'm saying though, is that like that was back during the time where I mean in the 80s where it's like in the early 90s it was like I mean there's a reason why Weinstein and crew didn't get run out of Hollywood on a rail until very recent history is because nobody cared how big of a piece of shit you were back in the day as long as you made the money,
right? Yeah,
exactly. And we just don't exist in that world anymore. And so these people who play this game now are of a bygone era. It's like, you're about 10, 15 years too late to be that big of a piece of shit. Because if this had come out in like the early 2000s and been as big as it was, mother could have walked up and slapped somebody and they probably would have just been like, here's some hush money. Like, just don't, like, he's too big at this point. He's our money maker. We can't get rid of him. Like, sorry for you. Hope your face feels better. Here's some ice. Like, it's just, we just in a different world now where you can't get away with that shit no matter how good of a product you're putting out.
Yeah.
So, sorry for him.
No, that's okay. So that was the old news segment. So that's good, man. I like that. Good stuff. So.
All right, let's see what we got.
Thanks for the 45 watching. I like it, man. Good stuff.
All right. We'll start off with a big boy. Black Cat Mysteries 50. One of my favorite covers. A 3.5 at auction, sold for $94.11.
What was your grade when you sold yours?
I'll get to that.
Okay. I was going to ask.
Couldn't find a lot on GPA, which seems like they're more sell, but two most recent ones was December of 23. There was a 4.5 that sold for $14K.
Okay.
And 923 at 3.0 sold for $9K.
Okay.
I sold mine sometime in late 23. It was a 2.5. Sold it direct off eBay and I sold it for 10. So it's not earth-shattering price, but it's still pretty solid. And again, there have not been it's the only sale of 24 that I could find on GPA.
I mean, that's holding strong, man. Like,
yeah.
I just think it's a more rare book than, I mean, when people hold, they hold. You know what I'm saying? It's not one of those books.
Yeah, it doesn't turn around. I mean, when I sold mine for 10, somebody was very pissed. Remember, there was a guy messaging me for weeks to give him the seller's
message. Yeah,
info. He wanted to pay 12.
Yeah, so. I feel like of the pre-code horror, this Mass, Crime Suspense, like those are the ones that if you get your hands on one of these bad boys, like, you know, and you got a clean cover, you're kind of in write your own tab type of like round.
You don't have to sell it if you don't want to sell it.
Yeah.
No, and again, it's not the most common book. It's not the most rare, but it has picked up a fandom of late. And pre-code horror is not generally taking the hit that the superhero world is. Like, there's a few books that are a little bit down to earth, but not anything like there's no major corrections. You know, we're up and down. We're down 5-10%. Some of them are up quite a bit. Just they're a little more steady Eddie than you know. Superheroes are acting like crypto, and pre-code horrors acting like the S&P right now.
Yeah, true story.
Good analogy. I like that.
Saw a newsstand of the ASM 252. I found this one amusing just because the Spider-Man label with Secret Wars 8 on it versus this book is just funny to me. I don't know why I find it so amusing. It seems like a good match, and then in my brain it just feels like not a good match. Because haven't they used this image too on a label, or am I making that up?
No, I think it's just a Secret Wars 8.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah. That's the only version of Black Spider Suit you can really.
It feels like it matches, but it makes me not want it to match. You know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah. The origin versus the first appearance, or one of 4 first appearances of the black suit. So,
it's kind of like having Spider-Man, like ASM 300 with a Spider-Man, even though it's Venom kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But this newsstand's still holding very, very strong. So, we've talked about this Crossfire a few times, 500 for a 9.8. I don't think I've realized that they were referring to it as Marilyn Monroe cover before. I suppose I see that, and I hadn't really thought about it. Another Stevens cover. This is not one I've actually seen talked about before, it's not by any means his best work, but I can see.
I think Carter and I he talked about it more than me. He talked about it on Tuesday, not this book, but just sale, but just Tuesday in general, like underrated. Not I say underrated, but things you could find that people don't think it's Steve. You know, even though
it is not his. I mean, it's got a little bit of his vibe, and it's also not his best cover. But you know, if you're a collector, that's another one to pick out.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if you're an Elvis fan,
yeah. This one threw me for a loop. Holy hell! Foxhole #1, Kirby.
I sent that to our famous lawyer.
Yeah, a good listed sale for $3,000.
Yep.
God, this book is getting it is getting outrageous.
So George was talking about this a couple of years ago, and he's like, "Dude, I wanted a Foxhole 1 forever," which I understand. So
Tony was the first one on it that we did.
Correct. Yep. Foxhole 1 has been scarce lately. They had this one up, and they have a CGC copy up for like. But this book has been notoriously tight nowadays. Trying to find one of these listed for sale now. So.
Yeah, I mean it is moving up the. I guess you want to call it war covers. It is nearing the rare air.
So if you take this down for a second, let's just do this for you. Let's move this over here. So, I mean, these are just very recent. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of Foxhole 1s on the old. So
why is that one listed so cheap?
This one. Or that one?
Yeah, no, the one above it. If it's a 2.0 at 1,800,
we'll
and a good just sold. I mean, maybe it's a better presenting good, but
yeah, I mean,
I was like, what color is that label actually?
Oh, it's blue. It's blue.
It's not as nice looking, I guess. It's got some writing and pieces, but I mean, that's an odd price considering the one just sold for $3,000. Yeah. Now it's Blizzard. Blizzard does very well at his auctions, but
yeah, let's just look at this one. This one looks really nice. I mean, for $3,000, I mean, it looks nice too. But yeah, it's just notoriously hard to find Foxhole 1s that obviously, like you said, people want to sell. You know what I'm saying? Not saying it's not available, but
should probably look more at that description at some point. I wonder if it's got some pressable defects and things that made it really pop. I mean, the colors are great though. Like that has some of the best colors I've seen on it.
Yeah, let's grab it real quick.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's pretty vibrant.
Yeah, let's look. 1 second here. Cover detached, spine edge pairs, another 1/2 inch on the back. Nice solid copy of classic books. So
Okay.
I love how he puts the Overstreet price kind of good at 161. That's funny.
Well, so I mean, it's a detached cover which lowers it down, but it's a really great presenting copy. So that probably is why it got a premium. Because I mean, that is some of the nicest colors I've seen on that book in a while.
It's like, okay, so it's detached. Who cares? I mean,
yeah, I mean, you can see the purples, the pinks. I have not seen one that nice in a while.
I think you can go with the staple replacement for conserved, right?
Yeah, but if it's attached, it's going to be detached. It's just there's no paper there. But either way, man.
I mean, you can get away with. So apparently, you can get away with adding staples and still.
Oh yeah, you could.
I mean,
conserved. Yeah.
I mean, also, not even getting conserved. Like so. This bad boy has 5 staples added to it. It is still a 1.5 blue label.
Okay. Well, so, I don't remember where it tops out. I think you can get up to a 3 with a detached cover.
Yes.
So, and it'd be a hell of a nice looking 3. Oh, that's not the one I wanted to go to. Newsstand 9.8 of the DC Presents 47. Maybe we'll see a little. Not newsstand, regular. Sorry, I had newsstand in the brain. Going strong. Some He-Man news in the world. I remember I traded my brother one of these, and I think he's still winning. No, he's not winning the trade, but he's still doing okay on that trade. So, I mean, that was a $500 book. Not too many years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, this is one Raw Graphics magazine first appearance of Mouse, and I looked for these forever, and I finally stopped searching, and now I've seen a few pop up now. So it is one of the iconic stories. It's not an iconic cover. It's one of those things that you wouldn't even know you saw it until you looked for it later. So, Hack/14, the Frizen first cover, a 9.0 for 250. So,
Wow.
That's pretty impressive. We're getting a Dino grades on here.
Let's go.
What's this one? Oh, yeah, a couple He-Man. This actually feels a little low for the He-Man Masters Universe 1, the 1 in 25 Wilkins. I mean, this is one of the outside of like the Maddie.com and the what's that other rare damn ones, but I mean, out of kind of the main series, this is probably one of the best covers and most chased upon ones out there.
Yeah, 1,000 does seem low. I mean, if I had extra $1,000 lying around, I know who the seller is too. He lives by me, so
I mean, I think it did drift into the 2s at one point, so it's down a bit.
I know he probably got this for super cheap too.
Yeah, and then you had the She-Ra, surprisingly selling for more because I think the other one's a more classic image, but
I think this is more. I wouldn't say I'm saying rarer, but I think this is a harder 9.8 to get than the other one. I know it's tough to say, but I know his leg was looking for this, and he's had a hell of a time finding this one over the other one at some point.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna go back to this one. I didn't even know this one exists.
I remember this because I was on the America Elite train for a while. I still will argue that the Storm Shadow 11 is rarer than this, but I guess it's an employee edition, so I guess it will make becoming rare. But that Storm Shadow one's still tough. G.I. Joe 11, America's Elites.
Well, this is saying it was an employee thing for Hasbro and Devil's Due, and maybe there were 50 of them. And we remember stories from our friend Matt saying that some of that stuff just sat on like a shelf somewhere until somebody did something with it. Sometimes they got thrown away. Sometimes they got into an employee's hands. Who knows? But I mean, it doesn't seem to pop up much, so it's not common. And to be a 9.8, because again, those things weren't necessarily taken care of. They would literally sit, in a shelf with toy promos and whatever else was floating around. So $3,000 for a G.I. Joe book is wild.
I mean, the American Elites around that same time, 11. Just DDP in general, this whole DDP run is so annoying. Like the hard variants to find are so annoying because no one has them.
Yeah.
No one has them. Nobody's ordering G.I. Joe DDPs.
You're probably not going to find this in a bin.
The people were saying there was a flood too.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know what, some of that I don't know that says it may have got destroyed. Who knows? Again, I just know from our discussions with Matt that like some of that stuff just literally was like a swag closet almost that you would see stuff in.
Yeah, it's this one. This is the other one that obviously I was looking for a long time.
That's
really hard to fucking find. So.
Yes.
I mean, there's a total of 16 copies with only 5 in 9.8. So.
Yeah.
Nobody was buying fucking 200 copies of G.I. Joe America's Elite.
No.
Yeah, not so much.
There's probably more of that hanging out there, though, somewhere. Not a ton, but there's going to be a stash somewhere. I don't know if I remember this one. I see it in my brain, and I don't know if I've talked about it before. I sure don't know if I've seen a 9.8. Rambo by Blackthorn Publishing at 9.8, 6 on the census, almost $500. It is far from great cover art, but it at least catches the imagery of Rambo to a degree for a comic book.
So just for reference, I want to be referenced about this. 9.8 went for $494.99, right? Roughly $500. 9.6 went for $56. You call it $70 at the end of the day. So if you're trying to gamble on these, you better make sure it's a 9.8 because if you get them for a couple of bucks out of a dollar bin, cool.
This was just me being surprised that a Neil Adams, not quite classic cover, but in that run of them all having a very specific vibe, being so cheap. It just feels like nothing in this kind of vibe should be that cheap in a 9.8. I don't know. That's just soapbox for me.
Hey, we're seeing $20 9.8s on Carter's channel. Just
Yeah, not this though.
I know.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a book you would expect to be at least,
like
a $400 9.8.
Agreed. Like there's not a lot of them. It's not. I am not saying it's a classic. I'm not saying anything. It's just it's a strong Neil Adams image, and I am surprised it went so cheap.
You're not wrong.
I feel like it's gone up a little
bit. It's crawling back, I think, because it was floating around 3 for a long, long time, post kind of the great crash of shit. So it's working its way up. Probably some more X-Men frenzy. We saw her in the final, right?
Yep, she was featured in the finale, and I want to say that she was on Forge's board of like.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a good possibility. So again, not to delve more back into X-Men, but people are speculating that that Forge is trying to put together a team because the world needs the X-Men. While, spoiler alert, the rest of the team is lost to time. Yeah, lost to time. So I think we'll see, based off of that board, Shadowcat, Colossus, Psylocke. I think Polaris was on there. Maybe Multiple Man survived, and I think so it's gonna be like a weird amalgam of like the X-Men 2 team, the X-Men team of.
Did we see like Excalibur there? Wasn't she with Excalibur? Or am I making that up?
So she was with a weird amalgam of people, because I don't ever remember Puck being a member of Excalibur.
You're right. It was a weird. You're right. It was a weird grouping of.
Yeah, it was like there was like people from like
Alpha Flight.
Yeah, there was like 3 people from Alpha Flight.
Well, that I'm not talking about that board. There was the scene where we see Psylocke.
Yeah.
Because Morph morphed into her, right? Or no.
He did that too.
No,
there was like at the end when they were kind of doing all the little cameos.
Yeah, there was a bunch of the Bastion manipulated Sentinel people coming at them, and it was North Star, the 2 twins.
Yeah.
Let's see, what are they
was
called?
Captain Britain there, or am I making that up?
I don't think Captain Britain was there, but I think it was.
You're right about Puck.
It was Puck and North Star, and then his twin, whatever North Star's twin name is. Let's see if I can find the image.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
Oh, found it. So I'm pretty sure this is Monet. Here, let me copy image. Here, I'll drop you a link to it. So I'll put it in the chat. Come on. There you go. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So who do we think the other girl is?
I think that's Monet.
Okay.
Let's see. Put Monet. X-Men 97. No, that's not Monet. It's another one of the I think that actually might be Monet St. Croix.
Okay. You're right. It is a kind of confusing amalgam image.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think of who the other one would be. Because it's a Gen X mutant, I want to say.
Maybe they really were just trying to represent all the teams they could.
Yeah, let's see. What is her name? No, honestly, I think that's probably Monet. Monet St. Croix from Gen X.
All right.
Because she definitely, depending on who's drawing it, she can go from being brown skin to being super fair skin. Same thing happens with Sunspot as well. So Yeah, so I think this is like Gen X, X-Men, and Alpha Flight all like rolled together into one quick image. But yeah, going back to his board though, she was on there, Colossus, Shadowcat, I want to say Havoc was on there as well. Like, yeah, if you can jump back to that image of the board, if you can find it.
I got it in red.
Yep. So yeah. So this is potentially the team that we're going to get introduced in season 2, or at least part of these mutants will be part of the team introduced in season 2. So that would be cool. And I mean, this is again like we got years of X-Men content to talk about, so we won't beat a dead horse on this one. But I mean, they have found a way to make you care about and to add value to the books of all of these characters. Like, people are buying this stuff, people are reading this stuff, people give a shit about Bastion, for Christ's sakes. Like, and he is such a throwaway character, it hurts. People are excited potentially about like Onslaught, for Christ's sakes. And you couldn't give away them comics at one point. And I went to an LCS and there was one up on the wall for $20, and somebody gave a serious thought about buying it. Like, that was nickel bin fodder. Like, that's like, so I mean, if they can make, and let's be real about it, like, I mean, I have an appreciation for Onslaught because I was a fan of what was happening in the video games with the Marvel license during that time with Capcom. And he was a really cool character in Marvel's Capcom, the first one, but he was terrible in comics.
Yeah.
So
that's my boy Omega Red.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yes, I mean, they're making the possibility for there to be worthwhile stories to be told around like anybody's fair game at this point as a villain. I mean, so it looks like we're going to get an amalgam of an Onslaught meets Apocalypse, a storyline for season 2.
And I bet you we'll see a lot of more cosplay from X-Men. I mean, I know people dress up as Wolverine, but it's good. Wolverine's been in the movies with Logan and stuff like that. A lot of Captain Americas, right? A lot of Black Widows, a lot of, but I think it's going to be more X-Men cosplay too, I think. And,
yeah, like, I mean, like, Jubilee gets her love because they're those like faithful 90s kids who really love Jubilee and don't remember that she was terrible in the comics. But I mean, hell, Jubilee they're starting to actually delve into her story in a way that like the comics kind of just gave up on it a couple times over. Her growing into being this like more powerful mutant in the comics that, depending on the writing team who was coming in, just kind of got abandoned. I mean, she cut off one of Bastion's wings using her, like, she turned her her basically like sparkle power into like a razor blade. Like, she basically like spun it like the Destructo disc from Krillin in Dragon Ball Z and used it to shear off one of Bastion's like wings. And that's another level of her powers that we've never seen before. And so, yeah, I mean, they're finding a way to grow and expand these characters in a way that the comic books kind of got a little lazy, and we're just going to focus on these 10 people, and maybe we'll bring in a new one every now and again just to change it up, because we, something would happen, our audience proxy character would end up floating in space on a bullet, or turn into a vampire, so we had to bring a new one in. And so that was always the new character who got worked into the team, was the audience proxy character who's like, oh my god, these X-Men, their world's so crazy. But they never did any justice by any of those characters, and now it's kind of interesting to see the necessity of the audience proxy character isn't really that necessary anymore. They did a little bit with Sunspot in the very beginning of the season, and then they're like, okay, you get it now. We don't need to have all this expedition dump to catch you up anymore. Now you're just in the story, and we're going. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm excited though. I'm excited to see. I know there's people who I talk to who are very much so worried and afraid of what they're going to do to the X-Men. They don't want them to ruin what has basically been deemed to be a perfect season of television, or borderline a perfect season of television in the form of X-Men 97. But I don't know. I'm more of a glass half full type of person anyway, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for the X-Men and Marvel.
Very few shows can pull off multiple great seasons.
Yeah, and I mean, we got a lot of great television back to back, man. So I can't complain. So.
And that's all we got for I think, right? That's all we got for pickups. That's all we got for news. Or I'm sorry, for news and the market report. I don't have pickups. I'll have pickups next week. There's one.
It's a good one.
Well, it's okay.
Yeah.
We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
Chris, you want to show off anything? No.
I have nothing to show off. I meant to get out this weekend and hit the LCS, but I got caught up with life. So
I did not go to Motor City Comic Con either. I got caught up with life too. I didn't hear any reports. So
Still waiting for the right item.
for me, Carter told me when we go to SummerSlam in Cleveland in August, GeoCon, is that what it is? In Cleveland? Hold on, he goes, can you squeeze out an extra day so we can go to Comic Con? I said, I got to ask the wife.
Nice.
Neo Comic Con is the day after SummerSlam.
All right.
We'll see. I gotta actually go to work though. We'll see if at least on Monday I can. Cool. That's what we got. Tomorrow, I think Carter should be cool tomorrow for Flipside Tuesdays. I want to announce on here that I guess we're looking for more people. I'll say we're looking for more people because I mean I know we're doing the heavy lifting on the shows. More people. If people want to come on, just DM me Tales from the Flipside or Tales from the Flipside CEO. You want to come on the show? Always more the merrier. So we could get you on. You can talk about stuff. Love that too. And that's it, I guess. So,
all right, gentlemen.
All right, guys. We appreciate it. We'll talk to everybody later. I'll see everybody tomorrow on Tuesday, but if you don't, we'll talk to you later. So, thanks, everybody.